Hey everyone, welcome to the D2 podcast. My name is Dave.
And my name is Dave.
We're here to talk about politics, sports, culture, anything, just scratching the surface of it, of course.
So we're heading to the final stretch of the presidential campaign here, and a lot going on this past week, lots of news to report. Seems still to be head-to-head, despite all the...
Head-to-head, you think it's even?
It still looks pretty even. That's what the national polling... I mean, like before, it always states Harris ahead by a couple points nationally, but where it counts in the swing states, it's incredibly close. Like a point or two essentially separates the two candidates.
Okay, so yeah. I mean,
that said,
nationwide, the popular vote, I could see it being close, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I think the polls there's a lot of talk about the polls and how they're trying to cover for themselves. They're not necessarily accurate.
Yeah.
You know, in the past, there's been this kind of a bias against Trump, maybe in the last 8 years or so in many of the polls. Like I think in 2016 or even in 2020, you know, the polls had, in 2020, Biden was up maybe in one state, he was up by 11 points. And then it ended up he actually won by like 3 or something like that. I think that was the case in, I don't know, maybe Arizona or something. But so they've noticed that bias, and I think a lot of polls are trying to cover their ass by saying,
for that.
"Oh, it's just even." How many polls are like 50-50, you know?
What's interesting is that it's obviously all the swing states are within the quote unquote margin of error, as they always say, which is what, typically 4 to 5%, 4 to 5 points.
Well, yeah, I mean, usually it's within 3%. A lot of times, it all depends on the sample, right? How, I guess it's percentage points. So, yeah, usually there's I don't know what they have a whole confidence interval, and they must be putting it within plus or minus. I'm guessing two standard deviations of the mean.
What I found really interesting was the latest polling in Iowa from a very well-regarded poller. I forgot the name of it.
Yeah.
They said Harris was up by like somewhere between 3 and 4%.
3 points.
Right?
Yeah.
I found that super hard to believe.
Really?
Because that's fucking Iowa, man.
Yeah. Well, this kind of, I don't know if it necessarily backs up my little theory, but like I said, I think, I thought I think I mentioned 3 weeks in, I thought Trump was going to win, right?
Yeah.
And partly because he just had so much of the working class, white, non-educated vote support. And it seemed like that was trending. Right. Obviously, things changed. But I think afterwards, I kind of saw, a video. Some guy was interviewing people on I think, a college campus in South Carolina.
Okay.
And I noticed like a lot of, I'm sure the college students, there was maybe a bias. Maybe he was pre-selecting people based on already their support of one candidate. But a lot of them were saying they were voting for Kamala, and he interviewed mostly girls, women, but I noticed there were a few girls that were like, "I'm voting for Kamala," and then they noticed he was filming. "Are you filming?" I was like, "Cut out! I don't want to be filmed."
Oh, So you think there was like a certain, they want to protect their identity, or
I think in a way, like, everyone talked about the shy Trump voter back in 2016, right? There was this mass hysteria about Trump being so terrible.
Yeah.
And some people, were maybe secretly voting for Trump, and the polls weren't showing that. And that might attribute to the bias they had in 2016. But same time now, I think that is gone, and I think, what I've noticed, obviously with 2022, the midterms, everyone thought there was going to be this red wave.
Yeah.
And I thought so too, up until the point when they overturned Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
And I noticed there was a considerable anger among women. And I thought, and I was talking to my dad, and he was like, "Yeah, there's going to be a red wave." And I was like, I don't think so. Actually, I think there was, but because of this Roe v. Wade overturned, just the timing of it, I think a lot of women are going to start voting against it. I don't think it's going to be like that.
It's clearly Roe v. Wade changed the dynamic of the race.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, by far, that's the single most important factor.
Yeah.
Now, is it enough though? Is it enough for Harris to push toward the end?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I noticed now that we have some, there's early voting data and stuff, and I know that, like I said, this is just a guess. This is like, I just saw that video. There's no way of knowing for sure.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm thinking, there probably is a lot of women, especially in the South, certain states that, the Bible Belt, very conservative areas that are like, I'm afraid to tell everyone I'm voting against Trump.
Yeah.
And I just think like the whole abortion thing probably hits close to home for a lot of, especially when I think there's been some recent news where a Texas woman died because doctors would not give her the attention she needed. She was pregnant but she was having sepsis or something, and they wouldn't operate on her or do the procedures needed to save her life because the baby still had a heartbeat, and they couldn't do it because they thought this would be an abortion. Then they were scared to face criminal charges.
Yeah, there's like 6 or 7 of those very prominent cases that have been reported where women the doctor or the emergency room clinician was just like, they're not really suffering enough for me to say I have to save their life at this point. Well, which was frightening to me.
Yeah. And so,
I mean, sepsis. I mean, I don't know much about it.
Yeah.
I'm not a medical field person.
Yeah.
But from what I've read, simply from like athletes who have had sepsis, it's truly life-threatening.
Yeah, you can die. You definitely can die from that. I mean, it's
within a matter of days.
Yeah.
It's a frightening thing, and it's just like for a woman to have to risk getting that.
Yeah.
So that a doctor.
Pregnancy is not, something that you want to
just
take lightly.
With.
Yeah, it's.
They're like, let's just wait a couple more days until.
Yeah, it's because of the heartbeat. Then once they realized there was no heartbeat, then they were like, okay, let's we can do a procedure on her or something.
And I don't want to give advice. I don't want to give advice to doctors, but you could say, I don't hear a heartbeat. Let's go in and
the whole idea of a heartbeat. I mean, it's an electrical pulse, and it's just I
was reading an article about this young girl who I think she was 16 or something, and so she goes to one doctor, and she's like, I'm in excruciating pain, please. And they were like, oh, they told her, we think it's like something to do with some totally unrelated condition, right? And she's like, I know what this is.
Yeah.
Okay. There's something really wrong, and so they wouldn't help her. Then she goes to a second place, emergency, and they're like, we can't help you right now because.
That's the commercial I saw.
Yeah, and she died. She died.
Okay. I think that there, it hits close to home for a lot of women.
Yeah.
And so I think there is a good chance that there will be like a secret Harris supporter, and I think it could actually, I don't know how much it will affect the election, but I think because of that, I think she's going to win now.
No.
I think that's going to be a big part of it.
The early returns show that a lot more women are voting.
Yeah,
which is
that's one of the trends I saw that I thought maybe this is going to be.
Yeah,
and also with the Iowa thing as well.
That was really surprising to me, the Iowa numbers. Yeah. I don't necessarily believe it yet because I think there's a lot of older people in Iowa who vote on voting day.
Well, I noticed that polling. The historically has always had actually it was biased towards the Democrat by like maybe 2 points, but they were successful in kind of noticing the trend, whereas other polls for that state were actually saying the opposite at the time. Like they predicted Obama,
right?
They knew Trump, predicted Trump twice,
right?
But they had like a small bias. So like I think they said there was a 7% Trump favorability, like Trump was up 7 points in 2020.
Okay.
And then it actually turned out he won by like 9 points.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I mean, it's within the margin of error.
Yeah.
And so it's possible, that Iowa may actually lose, for Kamala, maybe a loss for Kamala, but I think it's really close in that area. And I think a lot of states are going to be like that. There's going to be a little push because of the women towards Kamala, and maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll go out on a limb and say maybe like Texas goes Democrat this time.
Whoa.
North Carolina, Georgia, dude, maybe Tennessee.
Let's not get crazy here, man. You've been seriously.
So I think
you've been drinking a bit of that.
I think
that Kamala aid.
Oh, now I'm the other side.
I know you are, man. You've had like a huge.
I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say it, and I think because of that, I think she's gonna win.
Interesting. I hope you're right.
I don't know about the swing states though. I mean, she's done a lot to try to like hurt her camp. Like the campaign has done a lot to like hurt her, but this last couple of weeks, Trump has also shot himself in the foot.
Yes,
pretty good as well.
We must discuss. Okay. Beautiful convention that they had in New York City, Madison Square Garden. As Trump described it, it was a Republican love fest, a MAGA, just a celebration of joy and just humanity. I think that we could describe it as.
I guess the question I have is, why is he campaigning in New York?
Well, I was trying to find articles that would give an explanation for that. Number one, people are thinking down ballot wise, it might help some of the Republicans running in New York, but I think it's part of an ego thing for him. He always wanted to do something like that in his hometown. That's part of it. And
I do think that like some of those states like New York and California, there has been an uptick in Trump support. Yeah. Although I don't think it's going to be enough to win.
No, of course not.
So
it's a silly use of resources for his campaign to do that. And I think it's just more about he just wanted to give a big, middle finger to the Dems, own the libs, as they say. That was
he made some moves I didn't quite understand these past couple of weeks. I mean, that was one.
First of all, he has no control. He has no control over himself anymore. Let's call a crazy demented pig a crazy demented pig at this point. Okay? He's beyond self-control.
Have you do you know anything about the comedian that spoke?
Tony Hinchcliffe?
Yeah, Kill Tony.
Okay, I kind of followed him a little bit because I like some of his
he's a good roaster.
Yeah, his bits that he does at roast. I think he's pretty ballsy.
Yeah.
But this is a goddamn national convention that he is spewing forth this stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him so much. It's Trump's handlers. How dumb can you be in the last week of a hotly contested campaign to put out a controversial comedian who insults a very important number of voters in swing states? Oh my God. These are the dumbest people of all time. When you look at his bit, you're reading his bit, right? It goes, he wasn't doing that sort of impromptu. It was in the teleprompter.
Yeah.
He was reading. Okay.
So
that was vetted.
It was. His whole act is like, I know it's an act, but he comes across, if you don't know him, he's going to come across as a little arrogant, complete racist, but that's his act. and he does. His comedy is to roast people for whatever he can in any way he can.
Sure.
I think you're right though. He was vetted.
Yeah.
So it is weird that they said they didn't, because there was news that came out that he was about to call Kamala the C word.
That's right. That's right.
And they said, no, that's we can't do that.
We're not talking about the C word communist as Elon Musk liked to joke on his little advertisement.
So all those other jokes about an island of garbage.
Yeah. That was okay. But the C word was not. That was crossing the line, apparently.
I guess though that I don't know why Trump, you gave the reason why, but I just don't know. Like, it's not going to do anything to help his campaign to have that in New York, for one. I don't necessarily think it's going to hurt him that much, actually, but because it may slightly affect the Puerto Rican vote, but
yeah,
I think most of the Puerto Ricans already vote against Trump. And
that's actually not true.
Well, 40%, right? But the thing is, like, it's kind of like, I'm wondering why, like, this because of this you decided to change your support.
That is the problem.
Like all these other the past history of all these other remarks about immigrants, shithole countries, and all that. And
it wasn't enough. It had to be directed.
This is the thing that breaks the camel's back.
Exactly.
I mean, come on. He's made fun of everyone else. He's called everyone else derogatory names and stuff. But because he specifically refers to your group, now you change.
If only Tony Hinchcliffe had targeted Micronesia instead of Puerto Rico, it's like Trump would be sliding into home base right now.
I guess it could possibly affect Pennsylvania.
That's the thing. Pennsylvania has, I don't know, somewhere between 300 to 500,000 Puerto Ricans.
Yeah.
Right?
I just don't know.
That could make the difference.
I think.
And you know what's interesting? There's a lot of news about all these Puerto Rican groups getting out their people. And you see interview after interview, they're like, I was going to vote for Trump, but not anymore.
I hope that's true, but I don't know if there's going to be that many. I'm kind of like, I'm not sure about that, I guess. But, I think I would think there's a big part of the Puerto Rican population which already did support Trump. But you're right, Latino support has increased, with Trump. And I think it's weird. Especially Latino men, it's like, I think Trump may have more support than Kamala with Latino men. It's weird.
What was interesting, though, was remember that Puerto Rican hip hop star Nicky Jam that he brought on stage. He said, "Where is Nicky? Is she over there?" And it turned out to be a guy. Do you remember that?
Oh,
Nicky Jam, the Puerto Rican.
Yeah, he had the MAGA hat and everything. Now he's against Trump, right? Because of this.
Yeah, he's just like,
it's
kind of silly of him to do that. But
after all this is the thing.
Yeah, but something. How dumb is the Trump campaign? How fucking just incompetent are his people?
I actually thought.
And also, right, you don't, in the last week of your campaign, you do not have a convention that evokes the themes and messaging of the 1939 Nazi convention that they had in the same location.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels to that.
Yeah,
I think.
How do you make these kind of mistakes? Well, I don't get it. It's who is running his campaign that thinks, oh yeah, Tony Hinchcliffe, good idea. Oh yeah, we're gonna have a guy come out and say Hillary Clinton, that son of a bitch.
There's clips of Joe Rogan saying he should have a roaster,
right?
Speak at his but like, wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah, but so do you think Rogan set up Trump? He's just like, he's a secret Harris fan.
I don't know.
He's an operative.
He said that on a different episode.
He's an enemy of the state.
Trump went on Joe Rogan, and I don't know if that move was stupid. I thought, because he's gonna look
like an idiot.
Well, he actually looked like they're talking, and Rogan's not going to really push
No,
back too
no.
much, and he's gonna talk look like he's Trump is like kind of you could connect with him in some ways, but the thing is that his audience, Rogan's audience, is already pretty much most of them are supporting Trump, so he's already kind of preaching to the choir, so to speak. So I don't think, in a way, to me, I think that wasn't a good. If I was a Trump campaigner, I would not say. I would say there's better things to do with your time. Maybe limit that to maybe an hour or 2 hours tops.
I think
anyways,
whenever you let Trump just sort of ramble on about he'll spout more and more ridiculous lies.
Yeah.
So it doesn't help. I don't know if it necessarily hurts with his base, but it's not really convincing those last few people, those last 7 people who are undecided. You know what I mean? But so there's a lot of fumbling going on.
There's a lot of fumbling. I think.
Question is, does it make that 1% difference in or I don't know, Georgia, where it'll be a Harris win by 2 points as the supposed 1% lead she has in Georgia right now?
I mean, if I'm wrong about the secret women voting for Trump, I think Trump wins.
I mean,
I still think that because a couple things. I think the trend is a lot of women are voting, so I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, it's definitely a good sign.
I'm hoping that there's going to be some states that are going to be surprises, and they're going to go Kamala's way because of that. But let's say I'm wrong about that. I think Trump wins because Kamala's made, a lot of people around Kamala, I think, have made some mistakes. So what is your prediction now? You still say
I still think
slight Kamala edge?
I think Kamala by a whisker.
All right. I'm going to go out on a limb and say she wins. I mean, I don't know about the popular vote, but I'll say she wins pretty handily.